Hi, my name is Lute Ming, but for simplicity's sake, you can call me Zed. I spent a couple years in McEwen pursuing a Bachelor's of Art with a major in English, but I thought that taking this course would help me determine whether it was worth exploring a potential path in education. English is actually the fourth language that I learned, but it happens to be my most proficient language, which is thanks to my experiences as an immigrant student in grade school. I was bullied for being the only Asian in class, and I thought to myself that the other kids wouldn't have any right to tell me to go back to China if my English skills were better than theirs. Overall, bullying had a positive result for me, and one of my weaknesses became my strengths, which I hope inspires others to do the same instead of being ashamed of it. Here are a few pictures of me over the years. The one on the far right is a picture of me when I was in high school, back when I liked to wear scarves indoors. The middle picture is a picture of me a couple of years ago when I went on a hiking trip with my brother. And the one on the left is my most recent picture of me in my room. Multimedia synthesis. This circle of learning is an excellent way for a teacher or would-be teacher to use to reflect upon themselves as to what it takes to be an ideal teacher and what experiences they have that would fit in this category. When it comes to learning to relate, educators will enhance healthy relationships among all community members in order to relate and represent cultural understanding and diversity relating content within community contexts. I was always comfortable around people of diverse cultures since I happen to have a very diverse background, but I personally didn't have any First Nation friends, so my knowledge of the culture was minimal, but I knew that Aboriginal students did receive special treatment when it came to education, because of all those permission slips I read in school asking if I was of First Nation descent. But I never really thought about why they were treated different until I took this course. I thought it was unfair when I first heard that First Nations people were given benefits like free university education for a year, but after learning their struggles such as residential schools, my opinion changed drastically, and now I believe that they deserve more reparations, and not exclusively monetary, but some sort of new system that ensures that the support will go directly to the students and that no embezzlement can occur. I know firsthand the struggles of being discriminated against simply because of your own ethnicity, and the fact that it still occurs today to a group of people that have long been oppressed is very distasteful. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, I have a dream that my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. When it comes to learning to be, educators incorporate and model the attributes of an engaged thinker and ethical citizen with an entrepreneurial spirit in creating a relational space to include multiple perspectives and content in educational programming. Being open-minded is the best way for someone to fully understand the perspectives of many controversial issues. It is almost a necessary trait in order to be a successful teacher, since contemporary schools are filled with throngs of ethnically and culturally diverse kids, and in order to create open-minded students, it is important to be a paragon of virtue for the kids to be inspired by. The International Baccalaureate program that I enrolled in helped me develop a profoundly insightful outlook on different perspectives and worldviews. Globalization was an important topic that we discussed, and it was a key theme for us to understand what it meant for us to be citizens in this globalized world. Despite the fact that I never formally took part in school clubs and organizations, I always contributed behind the scenes and fulfilled my role as an ethical citizen by being an engaged thinker that was always willing to help. When there were festivals or exams coming up and my peers needed help with either organizing or hard labor, I always accepted their requests, and it allowed me to develop a deeper understanding and respect for the particular fields of school that I was not familiar with. Things such as theater arts or athletic games were not particularly interesting to me at first, but as I continued to assist them with their events, I developed friendships with people involved in these categories and a gradual interest in them as well. When it comes to learning to know, educators will plan and deliver appropriate and engaging curriculum based on their understanding of historical, cultural, and current contextual realities which have impacted multiple peoples and its effect on student current learning needs. For my lesson plan, I actually made my students analyze a sonnet written in the style of Shakespeare, but the catch was that the sonnet was actually written by me in high school while I was pretending to teach an English 20-1 class. This was a bit of a social experiment for me to understand whether my experiences and knowledge as a high schooler would resonate with students of a similar age. I think my lesson plan was a success since almost all the evaluation sheets were full marks. Despite the fact that each of my students said that they hated English, they said that my poem was very good and did an excellent job of conveying the contemporary contextual realities that many students face. Although the theme of the poem was love, its true message is that you should not regret anything and that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Lastly, when it comes to learning to do, educators build their capacity to acquire, connect, and understand the attributes, skills, and knowledge that contributes to effectively teaching diverse and inclusive perspectives to all students. Since I am a very philanthropic person and many of my friends are either immigrants or international students, I feel inclined to assist them when they need my help. Many of my immigrant friends are academically astute, but they are at a significant disadvantage when it comes to English. Luckily, English is one of my strong suits, and I took it upon myself to correct all their essays and tutor them for the final diploma. It was thanks to my tutorship that they were all able to pass English, which allowed them to go to their ideal universities outside the country. As a fellow immigrant, I understood their struggles and taught them my ways of learning English both efficiently and effectively. For example, when it came to spelling, I broke down words that had several syllables into bite-sized pieces to make it easier to remember. For example, thesaurus would be the-saur-us. A lot of the people I tutored, including my mother, have told me that this method makes memorizing exponentially easier. Classroom management plan. I, I made 10 classroom rules for my management plan. 1. Treat people the way you want to be treated. 2. Respect others' opinions. 3. Don't do anything that would hurt someone else. 4. Always be willing to listen to others. 5. No talking or interrupting when someone else is speaking. 6. Don't be afraid to make mistakes or try to hide them. 7. Don't distract other students with food or anything else. 8. Don't copy each other's homework or assignments. 9. Make sure to be on time and in your seats when class begins. And lastly, respect people's privacy. Each rule has a central theme of respect, security, open-mindedness, integrity, and an emphasis on creating an environment where any student can successfully learn without any deterrence. Each of these rules also teach my students on how to relate to your fellow students and know them. They can also teach you on what you must do to be the ideal student in my classroom. I took inspiration from the learning circle when I came up with these rules, and because a part of my journey of learning is how I can come up with a plan to enrich my students' journey of learning. The category that would be most identifiable to my rules would probably be learning to be. Professional assignments. To the left is a picture of my lesson plan template, which details my presentation of teaching English 20-1 to my peers. I mostly focused on the 4.1 curriculum and made my students analyze and annotate a sonnet that I had created when I was in English 20-1. As I detailed in my Learning to Know section, my plan was to make an engaging assignment that was both relatable and contextual to contemporary students, and I believe it was a great success. To the right is the sonnet that I mentioned earlier. I won't read it through due to time constraints, but feel free to pause the video and read through it if you want. I believe that the category in which my lesson plan identified most with was the Learning to Know section. Artifacts. These pictures are the feedback sheets given to us after our lesson plan, and it might be too difficult to make out, but most of the feedback I received was extremely positive. Some constructive advice that I was given was that I should improve on my transitions and my handwriting, and I definitely agree that those could be improved. As previously mentioned, my lesson plan and the feedback given to me really helped me reflect on what it is that I need to know about learning to know. My first journal entry. I thought to myself that the perfect way to understand and reflect on my journey of learning was to look at my first journal entry and see how much my opinion has changed or been reinforced after taking this course. My motives for considering entering the teaching profession can be broken down to 3 major points. The first point would be my realization that I've been teaching my whole student life. Anytime my friends and peers were struggling with English or perfecting a paper that is due, I was always happy to help them. I never wrote their papers for them, but rather guided them to the points they were trying to make and helped them discover a way for them to eloquently convey their ideas and thoughts. The second point ties into the first one, but I've always known that I was very strong in the English language. When I first came to this country, I barely had any knowledge of English, and the kids would make fun of me for that. They would tell me that I don't belong here, that I should go back to China. I didn't realize it back then, but now I know that I have the strongest feeling that if I was able to be better at English than them, they would have no right to tell me that I don't belong here, and that their bullying would be replaced with respect. The third reason why I'm interested in the teaching profession is because of my role models. Even though chemistry was one of my weakest subjects, my chemistry professor managed to both inspire and instill fear in me simultaneously, and he is a paragon of teaching excellence that I only hope that I can manage to even hold a candle to. Children are the future, and it is the educator's responsibility to mold these minds into capable and intuitive individuals that ensure the prosperity of the future. I don't think some teachers understand the heavy responsibility and burden they carry, and the ones that do are the 7.9% that quit every year, or the ones that are willing to sacrifice the majority of their time and resources to ensure that the students receive everything they need to be successful. I understand the financial rewards of being a teacher aren't the most appealing, but having both the privilege and ability to help create the minds of the future is its own reward. I don't expect every student to be grateful for the time and care I put into helping them learn, but I do expect that every student respect me and the decisions I make regarding their education and security. Conclusion. I find myself stuck in a perpetual loop anytime I reflect upon my academics. My constant cycle of being pretentious to despairing at my own lack of knowledge can be easily explained by the picture to the right that Dr. Reed showed us, and by a quote by the remarkably intelligent Ada Lovelace. I never am really satisfied that I understand anything, because understand it well as I may, My comprehension can only be an infinitesimal fraction of all I want to understand about the many connections and relations which occur to me, how the matter in question was first thought of, or arrived at, etc. Thank you for watching my presentation.